Hey guys, how's it hanging? It is TheLivingBluejay here. And hey, look at this. There appears to have been some new gameplay footage and screenshots released for Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. These happen to be development showcases of points in history this game would have looked like. So there will be image characteristics looking different as we progress. Now, I have not done a FNAF Plus video for a really long time, so it's gonna be good to dive back in, so let's take a look at these. So, our first screenshot of the batch seems to contain the office. I get such a nostalgic feeling looking at this. It's the perfect balance between feeling classic, while at the same time adding new elements to make the scenery interesting, constantly making you wanna look deeper. On the wall we have the remastered plus celebrate poster, which we're already familiar with. Next to it is a bunch of My Fun Day kids drawings. And the new marionette mask hanging on the wall, damn, this constantly staring at me is going to be so unnerving. But yeah, otherwise, a funky mustache cupcake chef holding a cake, a balloon boy figure, everything else is pretty standard. The next image is when we look to the left. So apparently the door and light activation points are separated. In the original game they were on top of each other, whereas here they've been separated into a switch to open and close the door, with what seems to be a button with a sun symbol that will turn on and off the door lights. And judging by this screenshot, it's 1 AM and we are screwed. 29% at 1 AM? Eesh. Anyway, moreover on the left we have a clock that we should be a little familiar with. We've seen a version of this clock with arms and a magic stick. But funny enough, this game adds an actual way for the character to see what time it is. In the original game, only if Mike carried a cell phone or wore a watch, there's no way he would have knew the time, whereas the actual player, as in you and me, did. And also, just like when we saw this last year, it says Frederick's tools and timepieces. Underneath this clock holds a list of rules. This appears to be an employee rule sheet. If we read it, we'll obtain not to waste power, not to laze around, not to steal pens, not to let customers inside, I'm assuming that is referring to the office, not to make any weird noises, not to stain the carpets, and not to allow refunds. Underneath we have fine print reading, make sure to follow all the rules to prevent unnecessary damage to company property. Another thing I've noticed in the screenshot is this, what I'm assuming might be a mug. It has a cute little picture of Freddy on it, with words that are not legible. Also, it appears that the window has changed position. In the original game, it used to be next to the desk area. Now it's on the opposite side of the door. And speaking of which, the window happens to have a speaker. If you've seen any of my 5 Nights Plus videos, I've always been suspicious of the amount of speakers around. Like, to even speakerize your plushies, yeah, something's up here. I just don't know yet. But anyway, remember on the map shown to us last year, it's shown a new room seemingly next to the office on both sides. This screenshot confirms that left room happens to be an employees only room. We also have a little bit of the hallway. Looks grand, but that carpet better not be stained when I arrive, 'cause I'm gonna be so mad if it is. Here is our first look into the cameras. At some point, the HUD were to appear extremely classic. This appears basically the same to the map outline we saw last year. However, adding the camera blocks, we also have a slider above, so it appears we'll be able to move the camera at our own leisure. Whereas in the original game, we had no control over that. And the footage later showcases the slider in action, so stay tuned. Next up is the right side of the office. On this side, the door and light buttons are placed in the same areas compared to the left. But the door activation is actually a button on the side rather than a switch. And not just that, the right is all classic. These door and light buttons are happily representative to the very original in every way. So the window on this side appears different. Instead of being clear glass with a speaker, this one has bars. This next image really surprised me. I was always under the impression this was the supply closet, but apparently not. If we glance toward the map, this might actually be a backstage camera? I'm actually unclear. But anyway, notice anything? Something about the HUD? I mainly wanted to point out, this was at a point where a slider wasn't a feature. And this is the only HUD that shows what night you're on and converts it to a day. In this case, this is on night 2, referred to as Tuesday. Either way, not much different in this new version of this room, only the papers are assembled differently, and the pizza box on the shelf is leaning on something else. This next one is a shot of the washrooms partnered with yet another potential HUD. This one feels very retro, early Windows and stuff. Feels super gray and boxy, but yeah, not too shabby, but not too fitting. Now, this one is a shot of the West Hall. This HUD is once again very different. And actually, this is most likely the final choice on the HUD, according to the gameplay footage we'll be taking a look at later. So yeah, it's more colorful. The camera blocks are now circles, and a cool touch I like is that the camera you're currently monitoring will be highlighted. I really like that, to be honest. But yeah, otherwise, nothing new here. And finally, the last development image. This HUD actually feels like the next step from the first HUD we saw here. So this is likely the second ever design. The map hasn't changed from the previous one, but the power and usage meters have. This is also the second HUD not possessing a slider. But anyway, earlier we learned about one of the new rooms next to the office. The one on the left was an employees only room, but this shot reveals what the one on the right is. This room appears to be maybe a breaker room. It has a generator, fuse box, blinky buttons, wires, tubes, a valve, a jerry can, etc. The generator has a note attached to it. There seems to be oil spilled on the floor, and yeah, I'm not sure what purpose this room will hold. Will this camera be important to our survival? Is this a camera Chica can be seen in? Is there a power regeneration initiative? Can this generator activate to eat power at a slower pace? So yeah, this camera racks a bunch of questions. The only thing we do know about this camera is Freddy can be seen in it staring closely at the camera. So yeah, that is the end of the screenshots, which leaves us with this development footage. Swipe to the left. Swipe to the right. Very nice. So remember the BB figure on the shelf? This appears to be a time where that figure were instead one of Freddy Fazbear. But according to the teaser trailers, it's likely Balloon Boy will be the final choice. Now, I wanted to save this topic until this point. We saw a bit of the right wall's contents earlier, but in the footage we get the full picture. So we've got more kids' drawings, which I've gotta say, they are hella creepy looking. And above we have an X amount of days since last accident counter. If you don't know what that is, the theme song to the Simpsons cartoon should clear that up nicely. But either way, it reads safety first, 0 nights since last accident. I'm actually thinking this might be an in-game kill counter. So maybe every time you get jump scared and die, the number will add 1. Or should I say, +1, am I right? I've also noticed that the Freddy head shape happens to be one of Toy Freddy. So I wonder what a relic of Toy Freddy is doing here. Anyway, moving on. A look at opening and closing the door. Oddly enough, in this footage, both the left and right door activations are switches, rather than one switch and one button, which the recent developer screenshots have implied. Also, there's no light buttons anywhere. So this is a version of the game before the lights were added and tested. This next one is our first look at moving the slider. Also, a larger look at the washroom camera, meaning we haven't seen the left side of this camera, the side that seems to have the new stuff, which is this cool poster of the plushies saying, "Visit the fun-filled prize corner," as well as this small TV screen on the roof. We also have a look at the entrance/exit, as well as the breaker room, and the West Hall. Now, also, take a look at the map. It appears this highlighted pointer pointing at what camera you're in is actually an FOV, otherwise known as Field of View, range synchronized with the slider. So basically, the wide part of this red here is the direction the camera is looking in perpetuity with the room. But anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I can't wait for FNAF Plus. Leave a like if you can too, and if you've enjoyed this video. And also, why not subscribe for more Five Nights at Freddy's videos, including FNAF Plus news. Check the info below, which holds a bunch of playlists. I'd highly recommend checking out my FNAF Plus playlist. From what I remember, other than my Security Breach TV/Freddy and Friends on Tour videos, my FNAF Plus videos are probably the most interesting videos on the channel. So if you'd like to, please go check them out. You can furthermore support the channel with the super thanks function. And otherwise, you guys have a fantastic day, and I will most certainly hope to see you guys in the next video. Stay fresh.